Okay, the championship games were tough in a number of ways. The silver lining was getting Jason Kelce's thoughts on his future. And then there's bad news about Vic Fangio and a report about a non-collaborative environment, plus 11 reasons and 6 positives to like the Kellen Moore hiring. So let's talk about it. But first, let's run it. Well, depending on who you are, I'm not sure the championship game outcomes could have been any worse. And shout out to Anthony DeVonta on this one for jinxing it beforehand with the Lions and Ravens prediction, saying, I don't want to see any red in the Super Bowl.
This is your fault.
I mean, it's crazy that despite Baltimore getting so many chances, they couldn't capitalize. Like, even shutting out Patrick Mahomes and the Chiefs in the second half wasn't enough. Because, well, Lamar Jackson resorted back to, Lamar Jackson in the playoffs. And I guess if you believe in this sort of thing, the refs might have helped KC just a bit. Come on, don't tell me that didn't look awfully familiar. Oh wait, sure, yeah, the refs don't want to call that one, but on Bradbury, why not?
I'm spitting angry.
Okay, you're right, I've got to let it go. But it's just that after seeing that with Kansas City, and honestly, the worst part was San Francisco's comeback. Like, are you kidding me? The Lions came out like gangbusters, looking like whatever they did was going to work and virtually being unstoppable, while building up a 24-7 halftime lead. Yet unfortunately, as dominant as they were in the first half, it was the reverse of that in the second half. I don't know how many breaks one team can get, but the Niners were fortunate. And fine, I guess they deserve a little bit of credit too. Although Dan Campbell's deciding to go for it on both of the fourth down plays late definitely helped. However, I'll just say it personally, I was alright with the first decision to go for it, and I know hindsight is 20/20 and all, but the second time I probably would have liked to see him kick a field goal. Again, it doesn't bother me a ton because I'm a fan of being who you are and not really changing things, so you know what, hey, if the aggressiveness got you there, why not just stick with it? However, now the Niners are in the Super Bowl, along with the Chiefs, so how are we feeling about that? Speaking of hindsight, I should also mention the Ravens' second-year All-Pro safety Kyle Hamilton, since seeing him out there making plays against KC wasn't exactly the best feeling knowing the Birds could have taken him instead of Jordan Davis. Let's add on top of that the fact that I can understand if you're upset considering the fact that JD was said to have been overweight and definitely regressed at the end of the season. Something the 24-year-old DT is confident won't happen again.
My body is beat. I can tell you all that for sure. It's a long season, long grind. But at the end of the day, I know what it takes. I have to do even more. I mean, my thing is just progression from year to year. Definitely got better since last year. Plan to get better next year. And that's just something me and Jalen was talking about earlier. It's just how we're going to take care of this team and take care of the D-line. One thing I have to work on is claiming consistency. And, it's just have to look in the mirror. At the end of the day, I'm a man. I can admit when I'm falling off. I fell off in the half end of the year. So, I can admit that. But at the end of the day, we're human. We have the ability to change that. We have the ability to work and the ability to get to different platforms that we haven't reached yet. And I think that we'll be able to do that. It just takes a lot of faith, a lot of hard work. But at the end of the day, we're here.
Cool. Sounds great, but is it actually going to change, or why should we believe that it will? Well, the Enquirer's Marcus Hayes brought up an interesting point, seeing that Vic Fangio is now the defensive coordinator in Philly and has a history of getting the most out of a player similar to Davis, with that being Akeem Hicks back in Chicago. Which, in case you're not remembering, Hicks came into Chicago in 2016 after only registering 9.5 sacks in 61 games with the Saints and Patriots. But once he got into the Fangio scheme, number 96 recorded 23 tackles, 38 tackles for loss, and even made 1 Pro Bowl in 3 seasons, thanks to the creative usage as well as a strong accountability from the DC. Now, am I saying that JD is going to get to that level? I don't know. I'd love it. You'd love it. Yet either way, I do feel like Fangio's style is going to create positive results. Although NFL reporter Albert Breer kind of hiked a leg on that notion by shedding a bit more light on the recent reports of the former Miami DC style causing friction and dividing guys on the defense. Writing, Fangio's one-voice approach to running the defense wore on other coaches, an example being that he didn't allow position coaches to present their work to the defense, instead gathering the information from them and doing it himself. That sort of approach is decidedly old school and seeped through to the players who by the end of the season started to tune Fangio out, with Breer continuing to say that despite initial word being the departure from Miami was mutual, it may have been closer to a soft firing by having lost the locker room just a bit.
Right there up on the wall. Got that, Monix? Nope. Great.
Interesting. Is this really a big deal? After all, we kind of dealt with all this already. I know the players denied it, but come on, we saw too much body language and negativity to not think at least some of the locker room had been losing faith in Sirianni. Although now this report coming in about a defensive coordinator leaves some questions. Where are y'all at? I don't know. Could this possibly be a good thing? Because really, I don't feel like we have a lot of intensity or an identity or much of anything, so perhaps a defensive coordinator who will actually get in your face? Not the worst thing. However, I'm definitely more confident in the Kellen Moore hiring than I am the Fangio one. Okay, allow me to explain. First off, the biggest beneficiaries from this move are AJ Brown and DeVonta Smith. Like, I'd be freaking out if I was them because you're about to get a play caller who is renowned for getting wide receivers open. I mean, sure, anything is better than Sirianni and BJ's scheme because heck, I'm pretty sure my 2-year-old daughter has scribbled these exact same routes on our door in crayon. Seriously, what from these images says, "Hi, I'm a professional who knows how to draw up plays"?
We're both professionals. Oh, really?
No, they're not, but Kellen is. Come on, can you imagine if AJ Brown and DeVonta Smith were utilized like Moore did with Keenan Allen and even CeeDee Lamb during his time with Dallas? My gosh, those routes are a thing of beauty. It really just makes me appreciate Swole Batman and the Slim Reaper even more because they were just beating dudes on their own to get open with virtually no scheming to help. So now with Moore bringing in multiple formations, motion, and play action pass, it should help in all phases. By the way, just in case you were curious, as Josh Norris pointed out, the Eagles were 32nd in motion rate in 2023, while the Chargers were 6th this year at 68%, and Dallas was 15th in 2022. Yeah, so naturally that's going to help Jalen process faster and be more efficient with the football. But I get it if your initial thought is, wait, didn't Justin Herbert struggle with this dude as the OC? However, Outside the Birds brought up a really good point to that argument, saying, let's imagine that Jalen Hurts missed 4 games, AJ Brown missed 14 games, DeVonta Smith missed 4 games, and DeAndre Swift missed 3 games. Yet then Hurts still threw for 3,134 yards, 20 touchdowns, and 7 INTs. Would you be upset with that? Honestly, how would you feel? Because Herbert missed several of his offensive weapons most of the season. Plus, I'm not really sure we could say the Chargers' O-line is elite. Okay, sure. Yes, Moore was the guy responsible for ending Zeke's career with the Cowboys flat on his back. But nobody's perfect. Although I will say that I'll be glad to finally run some outside zone as well as get away from the 89% of plays from the gun this past season. For real, I'm not making that up. Now, will the running game take a backseat to the passing game? Yeah, probably so, but realistically, that was always going to happen anyway with Sirianni at the helm. However, I don't think it's as bad as you might expect, since like ESP referenced, in his 5 seasons as OC, Moore's offenses have been inside the top 10 in rushing attempts twice and in the top half of the league 4 times. Last season with LAC, they were 24th, but did average 29 attempts from the RBs the first 4 weeks of the season. Seemed like Moore went into the season wanting to run it. Oh yeah, let's not forget that Eckler got hurt, and the LAD was straight garbage, so you kind of had to throw a lot. Again, will it be perfect? No, but who would have been? And I should also point out that NFL Network's Mike Garafolo said the thought is that Kellen Moore will be able to mesh his system with the current one and stand up to the experienced coaching staff when needed.
Well, I do mind, this aggression will not stand, man.
I don't know, call me crazy, but I like this hire. It'll be interesting to see who Moore brings over for positional coaches, with Doug Nussmeier, the current QB coach in LA, most likely being the favorite. But like you guys know, we will keep you updated on any official word as soon as we have it. Now on to the biggest news, and speaking of positional coaches, Jason Kelce was in attendance like the best big bro in the world that he is, and even shared an emotional hug with Travis afterward. And then when asked for a comment by the Inquirer's Olivia Reiner on future options, the GOAT said, "As a Philadelphia Eagle, incredibly disappointing season, especially at the end of it, and I really look forward to next year. I look forward to trying to prove people wrong, especially with some of the recent hires and Nick Sirianni." And there's lots of things up in the air for the Philadelphia Eagles, but I think that as a player, you always look forward to going to battle with your guys. Hold up, dude's coming back? I mean, come on, it at least sounds promising with him saying really looking forward to next year. Although Kelce did say the emotion is really high watching the intensity of Travis and the Chiefs and seeing all the emotions, while going on to say, "And I don't know what's going to happen for me with retirement, but I do know I still want to be involved in the organization and still want to be a part of it, regardless of what the decision is. Because I don't want to ever feel like I'm on the outside looking in on these achievements and these accolades and these opportunities that largely represent entire cities and fan bases and organizations. It's too good a feeling to pass up." Okay, naturally, the hope is that his comments mean he's coming back to play center, but how do you guys feel he means it, or where do you think he's leaning? I mean, it's not like Travis didn't hint at Jason's potential return last week.
The end of that game, I think everybody kind of felt for him, knowing that he has been thinking about it a lot over the past couple of years. The documentary shows that. You don't need to go around and ask anybody. So it's, I don't know, it's just, it's been cool to see everybody appreciate who he's been over the years this past week. But I think the big guy's still got some football left if he wants it.
Although I guess if 62 decided to hang him up, I would love for him to come in as Stoutland's assistant.
You're my assistant, okay? You're supposed to back me up and go get me juice boxes when I tell you. Now go get me a juice box.
Can you imagine Kelce bringing the expertise day in and day out to Jurgens and the rest of the fellas? Plus, obviously, you'd have tons of chemistry already, with the knowledge of a 6-time first-team All-Pro, 7-time Pro Bowler, and no doubt future Hall of Famer. Plus, then whenever Stout decides to call it quits, you've automatically got one of the best minds to step in and be your O-line coach. I don't know, feels like a no-brainer to me, plus he basically already does that anyway in his current role, so wouldn't really be much of a learning curve. And obviously, by making that comment, he knows he's going to be the talk of the town, so I'm curious to hear the next episode of New Heights to see what exactly he meant by all that. But alright, big week ahead with positional coach hirings and rounding out the rest of the staff, so make sure to subscribe and keep the notifications on. This has been the Philly Special.